Hello and welcome back to Unique Guitar. My name is Bruno Ferreira and on today's video we'll analyze and break down the manuscript of La Catedral by Agustín Barrios Mangoré. La Catedral is a masterpiece that belongs to the pinnacle of the repertoire for classical guitar. There is no shadow of doubt. It was written by the genius Agustín Barrios Mangoré in 1921 and it suffers some modifications over time. Barrios was a sentimental, a man of many moods. Therefore, we encounter several versions of this masterpiece. La Catedral is no exception. We can encounter different edited versions according to the different manuscripts, but today I want to focus on the 1938 Cuba manuscript, which you can download through the link in the description below. This video will be divided in three different parts: the basic analysis of the piece, form and repetitions, comparison of the manuscript of the third movement Allegro Solemne with the two of the most known edited versions by Richard Stover and Jesús Benites, and some insight on analysis, interpretation and fingerings, where I present my perspective to help you through the performance of this piece. Although I present this video after a thorough research, I would like to refer that tips and suggestions given are merely my opinion of a very subjective matter. I believe that in order to perform this piece in a cohesive and consistent way, we must start by understanding and analyzing the source, the manuscript. So, if this is something you are into, sit comfortable and get ready for an extensive video on the third movement of La Catedral. And of course, I would like to see your thoughts on the comment section below. Well, first off, I would like to make a clear distinction between the letters given by the composer and the actual form of the piece. This piece is composed in rondo form. The form of this work is not so clear when we look at the letters given by Barrios, so I understand the need of making a new clean version without so many repetitions, as we see in Stover's version. In general, Stover's version is a very compliant edition with the manuscript, even in regards to the fingerings use. However, Stover removed the repetition signs to ease the reading, allowing to play these repetitions by reading forward instead of going back to the beginning. Benites follows a different path in terms of editing by writing down every repeated bar again, which is another approach to ease music reading. Barrios developed this unusual repetition system that might mislead or confuse us with the form of the piece. So let's analyze this. The section A goes from bar number 1 until bar number 19 and it's divided in part A1 and A2. Section B starts on bar number 20 and goes until bar number 31. This movement is composed in a rondo form as mentioned before. Therefore, we repeat it from da capo, which means from the beginning. On the letter B, given by Barrios, we jump to the violet color, which I consider a transition to C. Section C starts on bar 34 with an anacrusis on 33. And of course, because it is a rondo, we go to part A again. And then, on letter B by Agustin, we finally go to the section D, or coda, which corresponds to the last 9 measures. In conclusion, I can live with Barrios' repetition system, but I find Stover's approach more logical, even though it uses more pages. In any case, this movement is quite technical, long and emotional demanding, so you have to memorize it anyways, so the number of pages is not so relevant. On the premium version of this lesson for Unique Guitar patrons, I analyze in detail all the sections in terms of music elements, melodic and harmonic material used by Barrios. If you would like to have an extended version of this lesson, I'll leave a link on the description of this video. Both Stover and Benites versions have differences and similarities when compared with the manuscript. The edited scores made a few changes here and there, but I'm going to list the most evident that I would like to highlight. By no means have I found these differences incorrect, because they were based on other sources. I think it's good to refer them in order to make choices before starting to decide fingerings. On section A there are two main differences presented by Stover and Benites. Benites on bar number 9 and 10 of his the edited version presents the following. Stover keeps the same as the manuscript and it sounds like this. It is slightly different. I think Benites used another source, another manuscript. At the end of section A, both Stover and Benites have the following. And on the manuscript, we have this. The big difference is not only the notes, but also the harmony. On the manuscript, we have A major inverted, we have E minor 7 and A major 7. And on Stover and Benites version we have the same chord, A major inverted, G major, first inversion, and then D major. On section B, Stover and Benites editions omit 2 measures. If you look into the melody of the bass, there are 2 measures more on the manuscript when compared to the editions. Once again, both editions were probably based on different sources. Well, whether we play these 2 bars or not, it is not so noticeable when compared with the next modification. On a transition from section A to C, Benites' version has an interruption and shifts the music 1 whole beat forward, cancelling the anacrusis effect of these slurs. At the end of section C, Benites' edition has a fully chromatic bass before repeating section A, certainly retrieved from another manuscript. Another evident difference is at section D or coda, where both Stover's and Benites' versions present a different arpeggio pattern, but Stover uses the same pattern of this manuscript when it repeats this section. The last section of this movement is very similar in all 3 versions, only the fingerings vary among them, and that is what we're going to discuss now. I intend to present you the closest version to the manuscript possible in this video, and for that reason I am going to ignore the differences presented by Stover and Benites' versions in terms of notated notes. That will be for another occasion. Although I would like to use this manuscript as a starting point and make some adjustments to enable fluency and movements by adapting the fingerings and using ideas presented by Benites and Stover as well. This is, I think, a very good way to approach a new piece, even before starting to practice it. One of the reasons I made this video was to stimulate in you the preparation of a performance. It's important to get as many different sources as possible, such as editions and manuscripts, to analyze and compare them in order to create your own interpretation of it. The suggestions I will be sharing will work as a research trigger for you and not as an absolute truth, because what works for me might not work for you. I think at the end, the artistic result is more important than being fundamentalist and playing literally every note and slur that the composer wrote. Also because the source might be a draft or present misspelling, as you'll see in about a minute. Following the indication given by Barrios on the section A is pretty much straightforward up until the second system. Here Barrios suggests to do a bar on 5, bar on 4 and bar on the second, but this one doesn't seem to be necessary to have a bar, as we only have 1 note with the first finger. Here we can do a bar, a partial bar, or 2 strings, and here again no bar, and it will make it more fluent and avoid these squeaky noises when we shift. So it would be no bar, partial bar, not complete but just 2 strings, no bar and no bar. So I think it's more fluent this way. Notice that the G of the second chord was either misspelled or mistaken by Barrios and Stover. On Benites' version, we can see a natural that under the G sharp of the chromaticism of the previous chord. Well spotted, Jesús. Next on the manuscript, we have this chromatic appoggiatura in all the chords that are played with slur. And here, Barrios plays it in 2 strings. The next chord is also with a slur. So this is my suggestion. All of them with slur, and here also slur from 3 to 4 to keep this melodic texture consistent. After this, Barrios resolves this section on the B minor chord, played with slurs. But here I like the solution presented by Benites. It is more fluent. Instead of playing with slurs, he just shifts to the 4th position and plays with a bar. So he avoids these squeaks and it keeps more fluent because there's no position change. I would even go further, and instead of playing bar, I would play an open string and the exact same arpeggio. So then it allows you to move from here without having to set up the bar like this. Which is also fine, but I think this one works better. At the end, Benites added a slur of 4 notes, which I think it works very well when you play fast. So if you play everything from here, you have almost no squeak noises and it sounds very fluent. Moving on to section B, Barrios presents a very simple fingerings, which I like. However, some of the transitions as legato breakage and squeak noises between the chords. So let's look into his fingerings, which is this. And here he plays with finger 2 on the 4th string and keeps playing the bass with 4 and 1, 4 and 1, which sounds like this. And until here it's fine, but here on the transition to the next chord, we have the 2nd finger as to jump to the 5th string, and that is for me not so good. So you hear the breakage of legato. So you either play with 4 and 1, and then the bass. Here you have a free finger to play the next chord, so it would be. But you listen to that noise. So for me the best solution is actually like this. Then you have almost no noises and there is no breakage between the chords because you shift the same pattern from here to here. It is though a little bit difficult due to this stretch with the 3rd finger, but if you can manage to play this, then you have a very connected transition between the chords. If not, then we can keep to this the solution by Barrios, and instead of playing 4-2 on the 4th string, we play 4-1 on the 4th string, and then we have the transition from this chord to this chord completely free from problems. On a transition from bar 4 to 5 of section B, Barrios changes from one chord to the other in blocks, which causes a little legato issue due to using the same finger in 2 consecutive notes in different strings. So here you have to jump from C sharp to G with the 3rd finger. So here I employ a technique that I already explained on this video right here, which consists in moving gradually from one chord to the other, like this. I'm employing the 4th finger on the very last note of the bar. And then 3 is free to play the G. But I still listen a little squeak noise here when you play it fast. So there is a better solution for this, which is not changing from position between both chords, but afterwards, like this. So I played both chords on the 2nd position, and in the middle of the G major chord, I need an open string, so I change from 2nd to the 3rd finger. Here. So you have a complete clean transition from A major to G major without any issues. I would like to talk with you about the end of the section D before I wrap up this video, but first I need to hydrate with coffee. Lots of coffee. By the way, if you would like to get all the fingerings I suggest for this piece, I will leave a link on the description below to the premium version of this lesson, which includes a free edited score of this movement. Don't forget to download the manuscript as well at uniguitar.com/guitar-music-sources. This Allegro Solemne ends with an ascending harp effect on a B minor chord, which is a bit tricky. The fingerings presented by Stover and Benites are pretty similar in comparison to the manuscript, but I still find them very squared in a way that you listen to the position change from here all the way up to here. But I'm looking for something more organic, so here's my solution. I think I came up with a good solution that prioritizes legato above ease. It also avoids sliding fingers on the bass strings to reduce some of the noises that we listen. Here, instead of using a barre on 4, I prefer to play open string because it connects better with the next note of the arpeggio, the D. So instead of playing barre, we play and then D. But here, instead of changing from here to here in one time, I do it in 2 steps. First, this, and then instead of playing this D, I play open string to change to the next step. This is more organic than so you use an open string to change position. And next we stay on the 7th position to play this fragment. And here, Salvador and Benites, they shift to the 10th position. Do they? Here we stay on the 7th position to play this fragment. And here you could shift to the 10th fret, but it will sound squared as I mentioned before, so I would like to make it a little bit more organic by playing this way. Here, when we are playing these 2 notes, we have time to lower the barré. So it is a seamless transition from here to here. And after this, instead of coming back to this B, we play open string to shift up. And we are already here without a barré, which is much easier to shift to the higher notes. This might be a little bit more complicated than just shifting from 4 to 7 and stay here until you need to go higher, but it does keep it more organic and the melody connected. I really hope you could get some ideas and enlightenment from this video. It was quite extensive, but there's much more I could say about this piece. Remember, all the suggestions I made are things that I've tried and practiced over time, so it doesn't mean that you have to play it this way. You still have to try it out and see whether you like it or not. Thanks for being here and watch the video until the end. Don't forget to subscribe if you are new to the channel. If you're already a subscriber, I appreciate you and give this video that like to help this channel grow. Have a good day and I'll see you soon.